Hello, I'm David Carter for David Carter's The Catalyst Podcast, where we have conversations that provoke positive change. And I don't know if you're ready for this today, but I have a wonderful person by the name of Duane Casares. And I'm just going to read some things from his bio. But Duane, thank you for being with me here today.
Thank you for inviting me, David. You're like an old soul that I've known for a very, very long time when we first met, and that hadn't been that long ago.
No, it hadn't been that long ago.
And I think it's great when you meet someone so genuine and invested and who shares a passion for serving people. That always just touches me. I think it's great.
And I appreciate that. And when I was telling somebody, I said, I'm going to have a podcast with this gentleman, I said, he's like a brother from another mother.
Yeah, it's kind of funny. We kind of hit it off from the beginning, and that's I just think that's awesome.
Yeah. So you're the clinical director for Directions for Youth and Families.
I used to be the clinical director.
Okay,
I'm actually now the CEO.
Oh, and you're the CEO.
Yeah.
Moving on up, like the Jeffersons.
Wheezy, we happy. She will be. We up. It's a yeah. I was clinical director for 17 years, and and now I've been the CEO for 12 years.
Wow, okay.
I've been at the agency for a total of 34 years. 3
decades.
Well, just make me feel old.
3 decades.
What kind of show is this?
I'm 42. What this does, it encourages persons.
Oh, okay.
That's provoke positive change. And
yes.
So, it's one of the, Direction for Youth and Families, it's one of the leading mental and behavioral health providers to Central Ohio. You've won numerous awards. You've spoken at the White House and other places because you have this model that I want to talk about. That's just really been it's transferable.
Yes.
And so, just talk about some of your experiences, how you got into the behavioral health and mental health industry.
It's quite honestly going into the helping profession. I'm a social worker by trade.
Okay.
It almost is what I was supposed to be, like a calling, it's just what fit. I have, my mother was always influential to me. She was just a very, very giving person, always supporting community and helping people. And we grew up in poverty. I didn't know it at the time, but we did, which really just taught me an awful lot about giving of yourself to others, even if you don't have much. And there's a lot of growth and good healing that goes with all of that. So, went into the field, eventually ended up at Directions for Youth and Families. I liked it because it was community-based, even back then. So they didn't do office-based work. They went out into the community and worked with kids. So that's what we do now. We serve over 6,000, mostly inner-city kids in our counseling programs. So that's it's mental health counseling like you would get if you went to any therapy place. But the fact of the matter is, the people we serve aren't going to go to some building to go get therapy once a week. And there's barriers of transportation, barriers of childcare. We try to eliminate all that, so we take it to them. And we've been doing outreach counseling for over 30 years.
You sound like a church. No, I mean, with the service that you provide, going out into the community. Right. I mean, it is outreach.
Yeah. It is. Yeah. We've always been outreach. It amazes me at times that when I've been invited to speak at other places. I remember I was speaking at Boston Law was having some event for a lot of providers in Massachusetts, and one of the people were challenging, well, it's hard for us. We can't get therapists to go out in the community. We're not going to be able to hire people like that. And Jeanette Espinosa, who is the head of National Crittenden, which is now called Justice and Joy out in Portland, Oregon, she looked and said, Duane, would you like to speak to that? I'm thinking, you're going to get me stoned in this group. Don't be on. Don't put me up.
But for you, that's low-hanging fruit.
It is.
Yeah.
You know what? It's the right thing to do. I think it's respectful. We always talk at our agency about who we serve, and we are in service to them. I think the people that we serve, society judges them enough. We should be the ones understanding. And by constantly talking about us being in service keeps us in the hierarchy where we belong, which is below them.
Yeah.
So that means we should go to them. We should meet their needs in their place. It also
meeting their needs in their place.
Yeah. It also allows you to truly see what's going on. Because when you're in someone's home, they ain't hiding all kinds of stuff. it's helpful to us because now we know the challenges, and then we can put together, a process to help this family thrive and grow.
A comprehensive, because you've embedded yourself. And when someone welcomes you into their home, I mean, there has to be a serious level of trust.
Yep. It's all built around trust.
Yeah.
I tell people all the time, I don't care how many degrees you got and how smart you think you are. If you can't engage people and develop a trusting relationship, just go home, because you're not going to be able to reach them. And trust isn't, people think, well, it's so hard. No, it's not. It's very simple. I think we complicate things. You build trust. I have this thing called keeping your shirt on. SHIRT is an acronym that stands for self-discipline, honesty, initiative, responsibility, respect, and that final T is trust. You do all those other 5 things, you'll build a trusting relationship. What happens is people grow up, and none of those things are hard concepts, but they grow up and no longer practice those things in their daily life. You just need to bring those back in. And when people see that, you'll feel that, it will feel genuine, and they'll be able to trust. And you have to understand why trust is so important. In trust, there is a sense of predictability.
Okay.
And in predictability, there is a sense of safety and familiarity. And once you have that, I can then take risk to grow and develop.
Because they trust you, and there's a sense of credibility.
Yep.
And so they can be vulnerable.
Yes.
And when that happens, then you can really see.
And that's the risk. And you're not going to take risks. Actually, you'd be a fool to take a risk
with everybody.
You'd be a fool to take risks. Actually, if people taking risks with somebody they don't trust, you probably have other mental health issues of dependency and things like that, which aren't healthy either. As therapists, we have to start off with a diagnostic assessment, and I am a therapist. I always think, so the diagnostic assessments, we ask them all kinds of personal questions. I always tell people, look, I'm going to ask you a bunch of stuff and we haven't even met. If you don't feel comfortable answering something, please tell me. I would like to pass on that question. I will respect that, and we will move on. You shouldn't just trust somebody just because you met them. You got to build that, and that's on us. That's on us to take that initiative. It's on us to build that, and then give that to the people we serve.
So where'd you get this empathetic, this embedded kind? Where did this? What's the genesis of that? I think I know where this question comes from. You spoke about your mom.
Yeah. That clearly just from her. It is amazing.
It's not because you're such a great person.
No. She was. She really was, and just rubbed off on me.
Yeah, look at that.
It was that's true. That's what it is. It part of it came through the genes. I don't know what it was, but she was like the true social worker, and she wasn't a social worker. So it was I don't know. It's just the way I was raised. It was what, it really centers around my values, my beliefs, my morals, and all those are shaped by your parents and the things that they involve you in. It incorporates my faith. I'm glad I'm able to live that out in the work that I do. I feel very fortunate and blessed to be able to do something like that because not everybody gets to do that. And I feel like it was what I'm supposed to do. So, and if you're supposed to do it, then you better do it to your best because you owe that. You owe that to others. And I just believe that. It's easier that way. You know what? Sometimes there's nothing. I think it's just being human.
Yeah.
I don't know that. We always put labels on. How about let's just be human to each other? How about that?
See, be a human, not just a human being, right? But a human doing.
Yes. Yeah. Yes, exactly. Yeah. I love that.
Yeah, human.
I do.
Because a lot of people, everyone's human. You're a human being. You exist, but are you really living? And so, as a human, what are you actually doing? For someone else. There's a Bible verse that comes to mind. It says, "Whatever you do, in everything, do it as unto the Lord." And so when you do that, you see the person, but it comes from, I don't want to say a higher power, but comes from your morals, your background, your values. And it's also being a servant to someone else, a servant, because that's why Jesus came.
Yep.
He didn't, even though he was King of Kings, he came to serve others, not to be served.
Yes.
And so I think sometimes in churches or in agencies, sometimes we get it back. We're helping these poor people.
Right. Yeah. Oh,
they really need our.
Okay. I don't like that word. By the way,
when I say those poor,
right? I get it. Yeah, I know exactly what you're saying.
I'm making air quotes. If you can't see me, you just use air quotes.
Helping poor people. That frustrates me. I don't look at poverty the same way.
Why is that?
For instance, the new place we opened, Kimberly Parkway. We were going to open an after-school and summer program. because we have one on Ohio Avenue, and we know how to do that. But the longer we were there, the more we realized that after school and summer program for kids ain't going to help this community. We're the only people out there. There's no park and rec center. There's no library. There's no social services at all. This community is number one in infant mortality, number one in evictions. 1 out of every 10 families in that community faced eviction last year. I want the listeners to ask how many people in your neighborhood.
You said 1 out of 10.
1 out of every 10. So think about that. If that's happening on your street, how safe are you going to feel that you're going to be there tomorrow? That's not how it works. I knew we had to do more. So that's when we decided to do to build a community center, because we need to hit like all 5 social determinants of health. We need to hit food. We need to hit housing. We need to hit health care, medical care. There's many other fronts that we need to do if we're going to help this community heal. And we believe communities can heal. But I got to tell you something. In the beginning, we were thinking, because we were involved in other projects that all gentrified, and we challenged ourselves, can you have what's the word transformation? I'm glad I almost forgot the word, because we don't use it no more. Yeah. Transformation without gentrification. We grew up. We don't say that word anymore.
And this is because this is really what I wanted to get at, because you have a community restoration model.
Yes, that's what it became.
A collaborative approach.
Yes.
To addressing not poor, but poverty.
Yep.
And neighborhood redevelopment.
Yep. And
I love this part, without gentrification.
Right. You know what? And I think gentrification, number one, is just insulting, and I think it's disrespectful. And that's why we had to change our language. Transformation to me is disrespectful. These aren't, Kimberly Parkway in particular used to be a thriving black community. The fact that it's been allowed to get to where it is now without services of any kind, that's unjust. So to us, it became a social justice issue. Now, if it's going to become a social justice issue, it ain't about transformation anymore. It's about restoration. It's about restorative justice. So we were on that march a long time ago, before the George Floyd murder, and before everybody else was coming up with their
before
DEI.
It became popular.
Yeah, actually, when everybody started doing that, we were talking about, welcome, we've been waiting for you. Where you been?
Like, come on.
Yeah, we're ready. So we started on that whole journey of community restoration. I don't do food, I don't do jobs, I don't do senior services. I just need to partner with the people who do, the right people.
Okay.
So we now have like 25 nonprofit partners who have agreed to help us work towards restoration of this community, to address all 5 social determinants of health in a multi-generational approach. And we started it all, and this is key. We started it all by taking moms from that community 7 years ago to our Ohio Avenue Center so they could tell us what they wanted in a community center. We got to quit going into communities and telling them what they need.
Yeah.
And then we complain about the fact that they don't use the services. That approach is so disrespectful. And it really doesn't honor the people who were there. And if we're going to say communities can heal themselves, they need to drive the process. And that makes it so much easier, too. I don't know why we have to make it so much harder on ourselves.
Because with that, there's always the buy-in.
Yep.
And they're not being force-fed.
Yep.
But you've come to them.
And that's the trust.
Yeah, that's the trust. And then when you're serious about it, you've listened to them, and you not just but you heard them, and then you address the issues that they have. Then they're going to be committed to not just to the process, but to the community center as well.
Because they are part of the process.
Yeah. And it
is all about inclusion, and it's all about respect, and it's all about honor. All of these things, I think, are critically important, and I don't think we honor them. We have to respect them. We're guests. And when you're a guest in someone's home, it's the same as when you're a guest. You don't go into someone's home and tell them what they're going to feed you.
When you're a guest in someone's home, when you go to their home, you always bring something.
Right. Yeah.
You always bring something.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then you work together.
Collaborative.
And
that's why
and then you break bread, and then movement starts.
You break bread. You fellowship.
Yep.
You eat what they're eating.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, it's one of the things when you and I have talked about after we met. I said, we need to get your leadership team and my leadership team together so we can have a meal together.
Yeah.
And that will start. our relationship of working together towards community restoration and community healing.
Fellowship, there's a word in the Greek, it's koinonia. That's what communion is, where it comes from.
Oh, okay.
Because initially, even in the Bible, it wasn't just a ceremony. It was a picnic, really.
Right.
They would sit down and eat, and sometimes there were people who didn't have anything, or as much as
Right.
one group had. So rather than sitting there and having their wine and their fancy feast, what they were encouraged to do was to share
Right.
with someone who didn't have what they had.
Yeah, years ago, I had heard something about probably 20, 30 years ago, and I still, I kind of believe it, the whole thing with the fish and the bread where Jesus fed the 5,000. So what if the miracle was there was enough food there for everybody, but everybody was like in their own little herd, in their own clan, in their own little group, and they didn't share outside of that? What if what he did was just taught everyone to share? And you give to the next, and then there ended up being, it doesn't have to me, that's still a miracle, because humans don't do that. That goes against human nature. It goes against human structure of mine, and ours, my group. I'll take care of my own. You take care. What if that whole thing was just to share across? Everybody was taught to give to each other. Wow. Why don't we do that with everything?
Yeah,
let's just try it. Let's just try it.
But you know what that
Food,
is? No, but you know
housing.
that's socialism.
Oh, well, no, I think what it is? It's being human
doing
and loving each other and caring for. I love the whole thing when we were trying to trip up Jesus, what's the greatest commandment? Love your God with all your heart, all your soul, all your mind. Okay, we all know that. What's the second? Love your neighbor as yourself. Okay, so how do you do that? In Luke, he talked about the second is like the first. Like the first.
Yeah.
So how do I love my God with all my heart? Oh, because the second is like, I just have to love mine. That's how you do it. That's how you do it. That's the connection. It's the same as. And that's how you do this. And people can have different belief systems, and you don't have to have a belief system that you and I share. But you can still believe in humans, and you can still give to each other, and you can still care about each other. You can still support each other. That's not a requirement to get in. It's not like we have this exclusive club. It just feels like the right thing to do.
So all that empathy, all of that that passion. You said earlier that it's like a calling because. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah, I don't try to get mystical about it because I don't know that there's anything mystical. I always try to not make things
It seems to me it's inescapable.
Yeah, I probably would agree with that.
Yeah,
it's my lot to bear.
Yeah, it's that cross that you have to bear.
There are a lot of things in my childhood that weren't good. I have a buddy who always says, "You do realize all this good ain't gonna be enough, Duane, right?" It's like, shut up, Joe. Leave me alone. Why you gotta always be on me? But you know what? We should all live like that.
But it's
not going to be enough.
Yeah, and that keeps you driving you to do more. To help more.
I'll tell you the biggest thing that drives me to do more. You come to our center and see our kids who are getting opportunities that they normally wouldn't have. They will put a smile on your face. They are the joy, the energy, the hopefulness. Life, we don't get that every day. Come around our kids, you'll get it. You will, and that keeps it going.
Well, that's where we met. We met at the grand opening of the Crittenden.
And I'll never forget one of your first words you said to me. I can't believe you built this here.
Here.
We believe all kids deserve a palace.
And see that you took my line that I was going to share with
tell people
that he said. You said that every child deserves a palace.
I believe that.
And what the Crittenden Center is on Kimberly Parkway. Right down the street from Worship Center of Central Ohio, 2600 Old Court Right Road. But it is like an oasis in the middle of the desert, right? But it's also a beacon. It shows them what can happen in not the transformation, but the restoration.
Right.
And it starts with direction for youth and families.
Yep. And that is what we do. I'll tell you, when we first opened the center, we had opened up. We were gifted Kimberly Parkway by the Kimberly Association 7 or 8 years ago under the condition to we would do something to help the community. And that's when we said we're going to do a youth center, but it since grew from there. Well, we had to tear down the old building, so we bought the building next door because we had programming. We were filled up in 2 days, which told me the desperation and the need in this community. We moved into the other building. So the kids have been watching this building be built. One of the first groups that went in, one of our young ladies, probably about 10, 11 years old, she went into the first big part of the room and said, "We are so lucky." It was all worth it for her.
Yeah.
It was all worth it for her. Every kid does deserve a palace. And she just expressed it, and it's great. It truly is great. That's why I say that's the energy. Look at that face, and that joy is infectious.
You said their face. It's their countenance.
Oh yeah.
They just, when I went in there, I was just walking around, and I was like, this is amazing. This is the palace that they deserve, and also it gives them hope.
Oh yeah.
And the fact that organizations collaboratively came together.
Yes.
But it always starts with somebody with a vision, right? And then having a passion for it, and for the needs, to meet the needs of the people, the community. But the community is made up of people.
Yes, they are.
And I think sometimes we forget that. There are individuals, there are children, and they have names.
Yep.
And they have stories. But this gives them a place where they can get the services they need, also have the sense of community that they need, and I love it so much. And so when I met you, I was just like, this is amazing. And if you haven't seen it, you need to go by. What's the address? Or
3840 Kimberly Parkway.
3840 Kimberly Parkway.
Yeah. Kimberly Parkway North.
Kimberly Parkway. Okay.
Yeah, it's it was amazing when we opened the doors, just because it's been such a long journey.
How long did it take?
7 years.
Okay.
The pandemic didn't help. The original building was $6.6 million, and then 2 years later, because of the pandemic and supply chain issues and worker issues and shortages and truck driver shortages, the same exact building went up to $10.4 million. That was a hard day. I'm going to admit that.
That was a hard day.
It was. I gave myself 24, actually 48 hours to cry and cuss the world because it hurt. It hurt. So we had to hack off the gym. We hacked off all the site amenities, the amphitheater. We cut all of it out. Yes, we have an amphitheater and we have a gym.
Yes, you do.
All kids deserve everything that other communities have, so we have that. But we were able to raise $4 million in the next 5 months to put it all back in, and it was one of my board members had said to me, "You just never gave up." I said, "I got to tell you, I'm a person of faith," and it was hard. It hit me hard, but that just means then you have to be quiet and push all that aside and get back to work. I mean, I had work to do.
Yeah.
So when we talked about at the open house, because we broke ground even though we were short $4 million, I said, I'm going to build what money I have. And I'll add the rest later. And I didn't know it was going to come that quick. But I said it was like building a house without a kitchen. And that resonated with some in the crowd. And doors opened. And when the board member asked, "You just never gave up," I said, I'm kind of a person of faith. I don't see why you shouldn't be optimistic. Believe me, I was low. I was very, very low when those numbers first came out. But I knew, now you got to turn this around and let's push. Let's go.
The book of Hebrews says, talking about faith, it's the substance of things hoped for and the evidence of things not seen. You were hoping for it and you believed for it, and you broke ground even though you didn't have all the money.
Yep.
I mean, and that's operating. And James says, faith without works is dead.
Yep.
And so you had all the faith because there was something that was driving you. It was the people in the community, the heart of the community, and the need, that they had, and you met that need. And so, what's been the response to the families and the children and families?
that's actually, you came to the open house. The energy was
Yes,
so
yes,
positive. It
yes.
was like infectious.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel fortunate sometimes when we're in places like that because it's kind of like you feel it.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't, even if you're having a bad day,
Oh, yeah,
you're
that's
going to
it.
feel energized.
It was so palpable. You walk in the door, and I must say, the staff there was amazing.
Well,
When you walk in the door,
I'm fortunate to be surrounded by a
everybody
wonderful
was
group
just
of
so
staff.
so pleasant and welcoming. It's just like hello and wow. It
Honestly,
picked me up.
it's a vision all of us share. This is, we really do believe this as an agency. I'll tell you, one of the first groups of moms that we took to Ohio Avenue to help dream, and sometimes it's hard to hope when you're just trying to feed your kids and not get evicted. And I mean, that time, sometimes we got to help each other hope.
Yeah.
And so going there and helping them dream was a part of it. But at the end of that whole session, one of the moms said, I can't believe you're willing to do this for us. And I got to tell you, that cut. That was deep. And we really thought that narrative has to change. No one should not feel worthy of basic needs. A few weeks later, we had a meeting at one of the other centers, and one of the moms shared that my son was gunned down on these streets 10 years ago, and I've been trying to get services out here since then. Are you people angels? It should not feel angelic to treat other people with respect, dignity, and treat them like basic humans in meeting their needs. That should not feel angelic. And that just reinforced to me how much work we had to do.
Yeah, and that goes from talk about earlier, human being, going from human being to human
Doing.
Yep.
I love that. I'm stealing that, by the way.
Okay, you can. Yeah.
All right.
I said it first.
Okay, I'll have a qualifier.
You say, well,
I'll put it.
The first time you attribute it to me, then the second time someone said, and then by the third time it's like I said.
I did this. Yeah. And you're going to say, no. Look at your reference page now. Look at the
check the footnotes.
Yeah,
See,
exactly.
If it opposite, all those things.
I'll give you a footnote.
Yeah,
I'll give you that. I do like that, though. But that's true. I mean, that's the essence of existence with each other. Yeah, we have to help each other in the doing part. That's the action part.
Yeah. So what are some of the services that directions and also what are some of the services? What are you said there are some critical issues or some needs. One is infant mortality.
Yeah, and we couldn't wait for a new building. I got to tell you,
mortality. And what are some of just talk about a little bit about that.
Yeah, so we couldn't wait for the. Number one in infant mortality, it was I had a meeting with Matt Habash and his team, and I thought it was number one in Central Ohio. He said, no, Duane, it's number one in the state. That's unacceptable, by the way. That is unacceptable. This is Columbus, Ohio. That's unacceptable that we have a community that's number one in infant mortality. So we couldn't wait then.
So that community?
Yeah, 43232, that zip code.
That is number one. In infant mortality. I want that to resonate.
Now, I don't think it is anymore. Okay, but we had to step in now.
But that
it's
was
still high.
But that was a reality.
Yeah, that was a reality.
Yeah, that had to be addressed.
It's been number one in evictions since we've been there. I mean, this entire time. So we partnered with Ohio Health 6 years ago. We brought in their mobile unit. They've been great. 3 times, they come 3 times a month. It has been full every time. Again, which speaks to the needs. It's not like these people don't want it. You got to make things accessible.
Yeah.
You got to. This is, people make so many assumptions about certain things, and they're wrong often, and they don't ever consider that they're part of the problem and not the solution. And we have to change that mindset. So we couldn't stop. We had to do that right away. We did that 6 years ago. Had to put in like a $7,000 electrical outlet so they could plug their mobile unit in. But we're grateful for them. We end up becoming the number one vaccination site, mobile, because of our relationship with the community. And let's remember, this is a community of color, not always trusting. Well, in the beginning, it's like, you got to be kidding me. You think my people are going to make it to the fairgrounds? You catch 3 buses to the fairgrounds to get vaccinated. And by the way, do it with a stroller. Don't take it easy. Don't let's be very, very real about what we're doing here. People aren't going to do that. Well, so that's why it's like our outreach motto. We will take it to them. We have to do these kind of things. We have a lot of great partners. In addressing food, I mentioned, Mid-Ohio Food Collective, which I actually bought the Kroger building. So really excited to partner with them as well to and you and everybody else in that community to help restore it. We already have things for kids because we've done after school. So we have music, we have dance, we have the spoken word. We had homework help and tutoring, Project Stride, which does math and reading. Kids get to pick everything they want, anything they want to do the days they come in. We're not a drop-in center. Every kid is registered, but we're free. It doesn't cost anything. The only thing they can't pick is Project Stride because they have to do math and reading. It's a computer-based program that we use. We just don't want our kids to get behind. And we have a leadership development class. We have recreation. The gym is beautiful. Again,
that gym is amazing.
You know what?
It's amazing.
I love it when I take people through the building. I always make sure I'm the first person in, and I stand off to the side of the road or the wall because I like seeing everybody come in and see their mouth drop. Could you imagine that building without a gym?
No.
And I have to tell you, I have to thank, and they're not going to like this, but I have to thank the Wolf Foundation. They came through with $2 million that allowed us to put that gym back in. We named the gym after them, and that was not at their request. It was at ours. They were not requesting any recognition. We have a very giving community, and boy, that was still during my dark days of thinking, are we going to be able to put everything back? And that was a shining light that really lifted my spirits and everybody else's too. So I'm extremely grateful to them for doing that.
So infant mortality,
food.
Evictions.
We're putting together a coalition now to stop the eviction or slow down the eviction process there. So Central Ohio Legal Aid's a part of it with us. Homeport is a part of it with us. So we're bringing in the parties, Cause Impact, Bowles Group, that deal in that space. Like I said, I don't need to be the expert at everything. I just need to partner with the right people who know what they're doing.
That's the beauty of collaboration.
Yes.
And persons that have resources and then access to those resources when they come together for a common purpose and common cause.
Yes.
So that's what I love about the community restoration model is a collaborative approach to addressing those needs and then redevelopment without gentrification.
Right.
That's a critical part about it.
Oh, yeah, it is. Because whenever you gentrify, it is those who do not have voices or are living in impoverished settings that lose. They get moved out.
Yeah.
And quite frankly, in Columbus, where are you moving to?
Yeah, exactly.
Folks, so that's not a sustainable way of restoration or what some may call revitalization. That is not sustainable. You can't just keep pushing people out to where?
Yeah.
Where? Like what?
And so, and when those things happen, it's a vicious cycle.
Yep.
Persons are kicked out, and so they become angry, frustrated, and what do they turn to? Crime.
Yep.
It creates mental health issues.
Yep.
Other forms of trauma.
Just think about the transformation or the transitional nature of the kids that we serve anyway, because of their moving so much, is very disruptive. 1 out of every 10, that's a lot of kids.
Yeah.
And that's in 1 year. Now go to the next year. And that is not a sustainable process. Yeah. I mean, that's just not sustainable. And any community, if any community that's doing well, there's sustainability of a core group of people who live there. It isn't the population's changing every year, every 2 years.
Stability.
Yes, it is.
And people can
and
grow
familiarity. Again, it goes back to that familiarity, that predictability,
and they can grow
that
up
sense of
in
comfort,
the community.
Yes,
and have and create a history. In that community.
So even though we always talk about food, we talk about housing, we talk about medical care. These are critical things. We did not. One big part of this too, just as important to all those things to us, was social activities. A safe place for, and some people don't. Sometimes we don't recognize that's just as important at times as food and housing and clothes. It's a basic need. The sense of belonging. For communities to be able to act like community in a safe environment. So one of our first partners came aboard, and I'm grateful for him, was the Columbus Symphony. And during COVID, we had members of the Columbus Symphony come out there and play concerts in there. I mean, they've done it in other areas, in other suburbs, but they had this whole table of the mental health benefits of symphony music that I saw at a function, a garden party. And I know you have concerts in other areas. Have you ever thought of taking that to toxic stress communities that could really benefit from the mental health benefits of symphony music? And that started that relationship. So, and that's great. It's great. They're the ones who actually are the first person who suggested to me that we should build an amphitheater.
The place is it is, like I said, it is an oasis. And you talked about the gym being a light, right? One of the key features that I know that's, near and dear to you in the building is the social justice tree.
Yep. Yeah. Our whole Rooted in Change social justice initiative was important to us. And we have a beautiful metallic tree that I wanted visible from the street. We have lights on it. I wanted people who drive by be curious what is there. Well, this is yours because it's in your neighborhood. We are rooted in change. This is a social justice initiative. Actually, our Rooted in Change social justice campaign raised $254,000 towards the building. Okay. We thought it was important to get the message out. We wanted to hit millennials and Gen Zers who don't normally give in traditional ways. So we partnered with breweries who made us social justice beers. They actually made beers with a QR code so they could give to, it was just, we wanted to be creative.
Wait, social justice beer?
That's what they did.
What?
And they could name it whatever they wanted. They were allowed to name it. They were allowed to make it. We had evenings where we were able to take our stuff there just to educate the public. And we pushed that out. I think, part of it was almost like a grassroots approach to getting everybody to understand the great need we have in our communities and how you can be a part of that change. So you could buy leaves, and so a lot of people did, and they're a part of this journey with us.
That's collaboration, community, change. Duane Casares, you are the CEO of Direction for Youth and Families and the Crittenden Center on Kimberly Parkway North. Kimberly Parkway North.
Yes.
I encourage everybody, if you haven't seen it, go by, check it out, see the services that they have there. It's a wonderful facility, and it's making an impact in a major way. Anything you'd like to share with our viewers and our listeners?
Yeah, at some point, we always have events. Our next one's going to be our kids are putting together a celebration for Black History Month on February 29th. We can't invite the whole community. You're invited.
Oh, thank you. I was going to say, wait, bro.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. We because we have limited space, but we are inviting. This one is really for our parents and for the community. So it's really not, often when people have things like that, it's for the funders, and it's for corporations who give and buy. This is really for the community. It's for the families. It's for the parents who will allow us to have their kids every day and trust us with them. And our kids' performances are stellar. Yeah, you've got to see them. You can go on our website and look at State of the Child past performances.
Wait, for the opening, this young lady sang "Let It Go." Oh my God!
She's great.
And that's a difficult song to do.
Yeah.
And there were certain parts I'm like, come on, baby, you can do it. I didn't even know her, right? But I'm pulling for her.
Dylan,
and
she's awesome.
She nailed it.
Yeah, she's really great. Our dancers are great.
Everything was just...
and doesn't that give you energy?
Yeah.
Like, you saw our dancers, and didn't that just give you energy? Like, you get pumped up.
Yeah.
It's all the artwork in the building is by our kids. We don't allow anybody else to have artwork. We have an art program. Our kids are very talented. I don't have anybody else's stuff in there. It's their building. So, we're very intentional about all those things. It's very important to us. More importantly, it's important to the people we serve.
Mm-hmm. The people that we serve.
Yes.
And my church, Worship Center in Central Ohio, 2600 Old Courtwright Road, we are there to serve the community as well. And I want to make sure that you know that we're there to be part of the collaboration to help transformation or restoration of the community. And partner with you guys.
You keep using transformation, I'm going to put you in timeout.
I don't take that, no.
No, I know, no.
No, but I mean,
we have to get used to.
But I was going to say,
really,
it's really
I don't mean transformation to be a bad word, but I just think there's a better word.
But it really is the restoration model, because it's bringing back what it used to be, and then and then to improve.
Right. Yeah. And move it forward.
And that's part of the vocabulary, the change, the language change, and the thinking. And one of my favorite books is The Mindset. Okay, changing the mindset, and then the language that comes from that, and that's how transformation, restoration to transformation.
Yes, yeah, and you can't do that unless you can give hope.
Yeah,
and we can all do that. We all can assist in that process.
Duane Casares, the CEO for Direction for Youth and Families. It's just been a privilege. It's been an honor to have you here on David Carter's The Catalyst podcast. Thank you, my brother.
I appreciate
From another mother.
Yes.
So
we're going to be lifelong friends for what years we have left.
Isn't it? Listen,
this is your penance. Okay, now don't come back to me later and complain.
I don't know. I'm like, God, why did you do this?
What door did I open? Get that crazy man out.
Listen, I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, I am too. I think, like I said, when we first met, it's like, okay, this guy got good energy.
Yeah,
this is good energy. I can feel it.
And I need somebody like you in my life. In all seriousness.
Yeah, we're going to be able to do great things together. I do believe that, Dave. And I appreciate the invitation.
Yeah. Thank you, sir. This is David Carter for David Carter's The Catalyst podcast. You can check us out wherever you find your favorite, and I know this is going to be one of them, your favorite podcast. Thank you very much for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.